Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking a quick look at Avalanche again, seeing if it's worthwhile taking another long position with this coin. If I recall correctly, we took a pretty decent chunk of profit, 40% almost, from our AVAX long from last week. So the question is, do we jump in again? Do we wait? Or do we possibly even consider a short? The easy way to understand it is no. Shorting against this kind of bullish convergence, a lot of strength here with this coin compared to Bitcoin, leads me to believe that we're in a position right now where it's probably best to avoid taking a trade to the downside. But once more, you want to be careful taking along at the top too. So let's talk about that. Oftentimes the thing that helps me get off the edge of, should I take a trade or should I not, is liquidation and understanding how much liquidation is close to the price. Market makers are very good at destroying late longs and late shorts. And in this case here, we can see some late shorts here at about 20.7, essentially shorting that $21 range. So that makes sense. I get it. Bitcoin looked like it wants to break down, but the AVAX is looking very strong and is at least 1-to-1, if not 2-to-1 ratio with Bitcoin as far as how well it's performing. So you don't usually want to short against that. If Bitcoin does come down to 83,000, we'll probably see the $19 to $20 range retested here for AVAX. But for right now, there's more liquidation on the upside than the downside. It's a very good sign. So that's pretty cool. Awesome. So when we take a look here, liquidation delta, we're starting to see this compression. In other words, you got longs and shorts in the market equally at the same time almost, right? So what that does, it tells us we're compressing, we're likely to leg up versus legging down moving forward. The reason why it's a leg up consideration is because we're in a rectangular type of pattern that derived from the downside, and that's a continuation pattern in most cases. In fact, Bitcoin is exuding the same behavior here. Let me go ahead and see if I can find that for you just really quick, give you some perspective here. Bitcoin has this guy right here. There's a lot of liquidation above the price action, but you can also recognize too, nice bullish type of rectangle here, bouncing nicely off its 0.618, $83,000 support range. So if that were to happen here for AVAX, we should probably see a very similar scenario. So Bitcoin breaks 85K, we're probably going to run towards 21, 22, maybe even 23 for AVAX. So that does lean me more towards wanting to take a long versus a short. But it's hard to want to try to take a long at the top here when we're getting rejected multiple times. So oftentimes you want to wait for confirmation in situations like this, wait for the price action to break above before you consider a trade. Again, there's a lot of factors involved here, but when we look at open interest, we can recognize that we are above majority of open interest. While there is a lot at 20.5, 20.75, we can recognize that just below the price action, there's a tremendous amount of support between 1850 and 1930. That's a long ways away, sort of, but for the most part, more support in this range than resistance, okay? And that's usually a good incentive there for, long consideration, all right? Now, we have broken our short-term or more so macro descending trend line. And this is one of the coins, the few coins that actually that's exuding some really good strength on the macro, okay? So this is a daily time frame. We can recognize we've maintained above the 50-day SMA. Very few coins can say that. We've been above the 20-day SMA for a little while. We can recognize too as well that we are above 50 in the RSI. Money flow index is trailing behind a little bit, but we're over our moving average. That's super, super important. So we've basically shifted gears more so towards a macro structure, a bullish macro structure here that looks more likely than not to continue further up, to not only sweep the local liquidation, also the fair value gap here as well, but to maybe even retest this local high of roughly $23. Okay, so these are ultimately very, very good signs here. So I love the support that we're seeing with this coin. Let's go ahead and quickly just kind of draw out some obvious indicators here so you can kind of see where we're at here. Because when it comes to support and resistance, we got a decent amount above and below us, all right? But once more, if you do derive from the downside, it's more common for the price action to break to the upside as a continuation pattern. Okay, so just note, we don't take trades based on patterns alone, but we have a lot of confluence on the daily time frame. And here in the 4-hour, we're also seeing a very similar scenario here. Money flow index above the price action. We are below the moving average, but the RSI is over 50. That's the more important factor here, with stochastic swinging up and MACD still converging. These are generally favorable signs that you typically want to take longs into, not shorts against, okay? Hourly time frame also reflects here as well that we're above the cloud, and we also are in pretty good position here above our moving averages on smaller time frames. So there's more confirming factors that upside potential is greater than downside. Just keep in mind, if you're going to try to break out trade right now, there is potential for that price action to reject at that current resistance, because Bitcoin right now is essentially having some difficulty getting a little bit higher here. But if you look at this here, look at Bitcoin, how it's established higher highs here or parallel highs. We see the same thing from AVAX, but the current price action is right there at that resistance. So if Bitcoin does break 85,000, we're probably going to see a pretty strong short squeeze upwards of 21 to 22. Okay, so good stuff here for the most part. These are things that I typically like to take longs into. I think a short is probably a bad idea at this point. But once more, if you're going to consider anything, wait for a better position on a long versus shorting into it. This has too much buying pressure, and there's a lot of confirming factors that indicate further upside makes more sense. So that's kind of where I'm at with AVAX. I hope it makes sense. I described it correctly. Thanks so much again for watching. Check out our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you haven't already. I've got a playout chart available there for you as soon as you check this video out as well. And just make sure, if you're going to join us over on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord with our premium group, make sure you read through our trade alerts. Make sure you read through our signals guide. You need to know how I structure my trades and how to effectively maximize that benefit for you, okay? You don't just blindly follow every trade. I have a certain technique that is important to understand. All right, hope you have a good one. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one out there. Take care.